Okay, well, if you're here, it looks like you've bought a Horizon Fitness 7.0 AT series. So I figured I would just do maybe a quick like put together video. I've already opened it all up. It was packaged pretty nicely. It wasn't too bad to get it out of the box. Obviously this was the heaviest part, but once you get everything undone and cut apart, it's not too bad to just kind of pick one edge up, move the box a little bit from under it. That's what I did. I feel like that was the easiest. Seems like everything's labeled pretty easy, left, right. Obviously your main control board here, and then parts, which is nice that it's like step 1, this is all your hardware. Step 2, this is your hardware. Step 3, your hardware. Comes with the tools. That's pretty nice. Comes with a lube kit. I'll probably end up showing it all. I'm not sure just yet. But, yeah, I'm going to get all this junk out of the way so I can start putting it together. And, yeah. So the directions are, pretty self-explanatory. Open hardware for step 1. Step 1. Insert upright guide bolt A into mainframe bracket and fully tighten. So these are your guide bolts. Here's the Allen wrench that comes with it. So we'll do this first. Looky here. It's actually marked, so you really can't mess it up. Always start stuff by hand so you don't cross-thread it. And it says fully tighten. I'm going to go ahead and do it on the other side as well. So here I am on the other side. I figured I'd mention. They don't give a torque spec or anything, but obviously you don't want to get too crazy. You know what I mean? Like a, pretty decent tightness, and then, call it a day. So next it says attach lead wire to bottom end of the console cable. Pull lead wire through the right console mass, which is this. And it's marked. I'll tell you what's really nice, actually, that they, thought this through, because a lot of companies in almost every industry don't really think about it or don't care, but they attached a kind of like a fishing wire through this thing down to the bottom. So we'll get to that, but it's nice that you can just tie off your cable and pull it up through. I'm sure very carefully, but it's nice that they thought about it. And then the next thing is, so I went ahead and got 4 of my bolts ready with my lock washers and flat washers already on it. So I guess I'll set this phone up, pull it through, and then we will attach it down on the treadmill through here, and it says to leave them like finger tight. So far the only tools I've used of my own was a utility knife and a pair of side cutters. There was this zip tie holding this wiring harness together for transport, and this at the bottom of the right side is what you'll fish up through that mast. So what I did, well, it's first off, it's clearly marked where the cable goes. This will go up through here, but what I did was I fished this end through some of the wires, and then, kind of tied it around on itself to where it shouldn't come off, because obviously you don't want to lose your fish up through here through this thing. I think that's my best bet. So I will go ahead and do that now. I'll get it started up through here like this. And you can come up here on this side and start pulling it through. Oh, I've actually got a little bit of resistance. So I was getting up down here, you know, through these sections. But what I'm doing is I'm just feeding it through this side, feeding it through here, and then pulling up through here a little bit. That way I'm not putting too much tension on it so it doesn't break. So it's gonna take me a minute. So yeah, I went ahead and got it through. It's out the hole. Yeah, I just pretty much kept feeding, and then I was also, you know, giving some pressure on this side as well, pushing and pulling. Wasn't bad. So we were through. So now once that happens, you can lift this thing up, and then you got to be careful, obviously, not to pinch your wire down here. So I'll get my bolts, and again, always start them by hand, and then you want to leave them finger tight. So yeah, I ended up getting the T-handle, running these in just a little bit. You can see it's still loose. That's how you want to do it. And yeah, I got my 4 bolts for the other side. Actually wasn't bad to do. And I'll show you on this side, these guide bolts. There's a notch on this side. You see that hole there? You just put the guide bolt in there. You still need to wiggle it back and forth a little bit to get your bolts started. You definitely, like I said, want to start them by hand because you don't want to cross thread stuff. And I'll go ahead and get this one on. So, got them both on there. Like I said, wasn't bad. I still have my cable hanging out of here. And I just left my, their fishing wire on here just in case it happens to pull back through. I think I'm past that point now, but just in case. So we'll go over here and look at the instructions. Open up the hardware for step 2. So gently place the console on top. The console cable is tucked into the right console mast. Out of the right, detach, discard the lead wire. Okay, so next step is to get the top here, and I imagine go ahead and connect these. So I'll go ahead and do that. So I got it on here. Took me a second. Wasn't too bad. Just sit it on there, but my wires were getting caught up in through here, so I just had to pull them out of the way. I've left it unhooked. It's loose at the moment. Another hand would be nice to hold it, but currently home by myself, so it stayed by itself without the broom or whatever you would use to handle it, but I just figured I'd rather not drop this part, so it's pretty easy. Yeah, if you just get your bolts ready, I'm going lock washer and then flat washer on each. So I have my bolts ready. I just figured I'd show you where they go. There's a hole there, 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 and there. And I'm gonna have to put the phone down so I can actually, I'll have to wiggle the unit up top a little bit just to get all these started. And again, start them by hand. It took, you know, a little bit of wiggling, but you know, if you just kind of wiggle it back and forth or pull it up and down just a little bit, it wasn't bad. And then you just take your supplied Allen wrench and tighten them up. Well, I was going to do this with the supplied tools, but I got tired of going in little increments, so I just got a swivel and a ratchet and tighten them down. But obviously, if you have the patience and you don't have an alternative, you know, you can just utilize the Allen wrench. So it did say to go ahead and tighten them all down, fully tighten all of them. And what I didn't do was, you know, connect the connector and then tuck them back into the mast over there. But I just looked, I can do that later, so it's no big deal. So yeah, open up hardware for step 3. Grab the right pulse rate grip. So use 3 bolts, and then I guess I will show you under there where it goes. Probably not too bad, but we'll go through it and then we'll do the left side. I think a little bit of prep work really helps with this whole thing, getting your bolts and your washers ready. And so I'm assuming just by looking at it, the one long bolt will go into that hole, obviously, because it's longer. So keep them all together, and then I'll show you under here. So I guess it goes like well, I'll have to do some looking and figure out how this goes. I'll be back. Alright, so it did go where I was thinking. It was just turned, like a 45-degree angle. So yeah, 2 small bolts, and then your long bolt right through it. And then, well, it's actually kind of nice. The connectors, you can't mess it up. This one is a male connector, so it goes to the female side. And then my left one should be opposite. So yeah, you can't mess that up. That's nice. And then I've just left this loose just to make sure I don't pinch anything, all that good stuff. I'll get the left one on, plug them in, and then show you. So yeah, it definitely turns out you can't mess it up. I just figured I'd at least mention. So if you look at your cables or your pigtails there, if you look, obviously one's male, one's female, but there's a little tab that you'll depress. There's a little locking tab. You can see it right there. That way you're not trying to force it together. Just make sure you line up this piece with that little locking tab. And then grab your T-handle, tighten up your bolts. Figure I will note, all this hardware, I haven't really gotten crazy tightening it. You can always go back through and, make sure everything's torqued down correctly. It's a good idea anyway. But we will go ahead and go to the next step. Step 4, I already opened up the hardware. And then, yeah, tablet holder. Easy enough. Grab your screwdriver. And what does that slide on? Right on top. Right in this little hole. And then you'll come down here under it and thread your screws in. So I'll go ahead and do that. I know I've said multiple times to start everything by hand. This is not one of those times. You have to, definitely start it with the screwdriver. I got the top one in and pretty close to being tight, so that way everything lines up. Still plenty of wiggle that you can line everything up. So, yeah, I'll get the last 2 in. Alright, I got that tight. Next is removal of the red transport cables. So make sure it's supported. It's not going to fall, that good stuff, which it's on the ground, should be fine. Use the 5mm wrench. Alright, so let me look. Okay. So literally all you're doing is taking this bolt out and this bolt out, taking this off, and putting the bolts right back in on each side. I'm going to leave this hooked up while I do that, so that way it's just not a pain in the butt it's not like trying to come up or anything like that. So I'll go ahead and do that on each side. Well, I've been talking about, pretty quality craftsmanship so far. I got both of these cables off. Well, I'm putting the bolts back in, and this one here is stripped. I don't think it does anything, so it's not a big deal, but I figured I'd at least mention it. So yeah, went ahead and cut off the red transport extra tie thing. And then turns out that was it. Now it just tells you how to move the treadmill. So honestly, with this video, it may have taken me half hour, 45 minutes at most to put this thing together. So, initial thoughts, if you are thinking about doing it yourself, I know a lot of people get like intimidated with putting things together. I actually enjoy it. But I truly believe anybody that can read and has a little bit of, common sense, it's fairly easy to put together. So I'll go ahead and, plug this thing up. I'll get it plugged into the wall. And then I'm planning to, make sure everything works. Different speed things, different buttons, these. That way, not only can I test it, but also make sure I didn't mess something up and or there may be a defective part. So I'll get all that stuff done and then I'll show you. Well, I did forget. I still need to lube the track up. This is my first time ever putting any of these together, and also my first at-home treadmill. So I'm pretty excited. But yeah, it came with that paper, this book, which this is where you can change your tension, but also this is here's the lubricating instructions. And I guess I'll go ahead and run through that. I think you need to go ahead and, well, actually not, it is while it's off, but yeah, and here's that other book. This was all the step-by-step directions, so I'll show how to lubricate, I guess. So I'm getting a little scatterbrained here. I will get to everything that I was mentioning, but so I've got these screws. I just folded it up. There's, 1, 2. On this side, both of these screws are like threaded out. I'm assuming they need to be screwed back in. I don't see anything else that would go there. But I just noticed that as I folded it up. And other thing worth mentioning, it's not the easiest to roll around. I'm on cement, so it's not bad in an unfinished basement, but like it's just kind of awkward to lean it back because you can't really see. I'm a shorter guy, so I can't really see where I'm going. I just figured I'd mention that as well. So I'm finally getting around to, trying to lube this deck. So it says turn it off. There's an on-off switch up there. And unplug it to be safe. Using the supplied T-handle, back it off 10 to 15 turns. So what I'm going to do is just count, so that's a half. 1 full turn. 1.5, 2. So I'm going to do that 15 times on each side. And then I will show you. So I ended up going 13 turns because it got almost felt like it was going to thread out of there. So I just stopped. And then, so this supplied bottle apparently does 2 coats. And you're supposed to do it every 3 months or 300 miles. It apparently will say you hit 300 miles or 3 months. It apparently lets you know up there. And it won't run when that's on. There isn't a sequence to clear it, which we'll go through if it pops up. But it says lift the belt as far as you can and squirt the silicone oil in a zigzag pattern across the entire running deck surface. So I'm probably going to lift it up as high as I can on both sides and just go, all the way up and then all the way down on each side. I'll see if I can maybe show you a little bit. I did have to cut the tip of the bottle. I'm assuming they're all like that. I just used some cutters. And I ended up going 2 more turns, actually. It wasn't bad. Just go ahead and go 15. And it's hard to tell, but I lubed up both sides pretty good. And then, says after you've applied the lubricant, plug it in and reset the message by first pressing and holding the speed up button, then stop button, and hold both buttons for 5 to 7 seconds. We'll see if that comes up. Stay off the machine and press start. Allow the belt to run at 3 miles per hour for 3 minutes. Then walk on the machine at a comfortable speed for 3 minutes to complete spreading the silicone and check running belt for proper tension and alignment. Once the belt is centered and tensioned, stop the belt, wipe any excess oil from the sides with a damp cloth. So yeah, now after it's lubed, just have to tighten these back up 15 turns and then run through that sequence. So I guess I just started it, and I'm just starting it really slow to make sure maybe it doesn't jump off or anything like that or get way out of whack. So it seems pretty good. Can bump it up to 3 miles an hour, which that was also part of the testing there. I wanted to go through and make sure all this stuff worked. But it says 3 miles per hour for 3 minutes, and then I will check back. So I've let it run for 3 minutes, and I did notice I've got it, a finger's width here and almost nothing here. So, perfect opportunity to show centering the running belt. I'm going to drop it back down to like a half a mile an hour. Maybe we'll go 1. And, oh yeah, here's the other thing. I found this on the floor. It came from somewhere on this thing, I believe. I will check back if I find it, where it went. But, so belt is too far to the right side. That means you have to loosen this up, I believe, to get it to come back over. Alright, that definitely brought it over, but I think I brought it over too far now. So I'm going to take it back and tighten it up some. See, now I've got my gap on this side. So let me tighten this back up. So this might be a little process, but I guess this is all part of it, putting it together. Gotta make sure it's correct. I think I still need to take it over just slightly. I will check back when it's done. Okay, well that ended up being somewhat annoying. It's not hard to do, but yeah, it just took a little bit of more time than I expected. But I finally have it centered. So now, back to the lubrication. Now it says to go ahead and walk on the machine at a comfortable speed for 3 minutes to complete spreading the silicone to check the running belt, and to check the running belt for proper tension and alignment. So I guess I'm going to have to probably mess with that again. So I'll go ahead and walk on it for a few minutes and then come back. Well, I just walked for a few minutes on it. I don't know if I needed to, but I kind of tried to walk on like every little spot. So up close, in the middle, back here a little bit to make sure it is lubed up nice and good. And I feel like my centering stayed good, so I don't think I have to mess with it. Yeah, I think I'll go ahead and just make sure everything works. I know these little speed things work because I already messed with it, which I'm a fan of. I like that. Throw it up to 12 mile an hour and see how she does. It was quiet at 1. You couldn't even hardly hear it running. Obviously, you get up to... I do need to adjust the feet. I know that. I think this one down here, it had some wobble, so maybe I'll show you that too. So all these work. 4. All that works. And I guess I'll go ahead and see if the inclines work. Well, that works. It's going up. Apparently it's already up to 3. Go to 7. That is one thing. I was looking at the F63, the Soul F63, and this one. I went and did them side by side at Dick's Sporting Goods. Tell you what, something sounded a little weird. I guess I'll fold it up and check it out. So I still haven't found out where this little screw went. I looked this thing over pretty good. It could be something else. I mean, it's my basement. I have all kinds of stuff down here. But I did go ahead and adjust this foot. It was super easy. I just kind of lifted up with one hand, and then I threaded this out so it would go down. And it's a lot more sturdy now. So, long story short, if you're thinking about installing this, installing it / putting it together was not bad to do. We believe in you. You can do it. Not that hard. So, yeah. Hope it helps, and enjoy your new treadmill.